the rich.
I was told to deliver this message. You think you're invincible because you got money, bombs, guns, and planes, killing babies, innocent people. I think you're insane. Chaos and destruction is the name of your game. Somebody's got to stop you before the whole world goes up in flames. So he told me to tell you, I'll fight
for my brothers. We can go to war. Fighting for my father, I will give my life for. I feel so alone in this white man's world. Whip it in the kitchen, watch that white turn pearl. Standing on the corner, standing on my phone. Standing with my gangsters, but I'm standing on my own. If you got to be alone, split you like you be alone. Sacrifice my life, understanding each his own. Toast to the keys of success. Bel Air rose on my breath. I've been a student since '03, and we can fight till we see peace.
I fight like that. 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 I fight like that.
Let me holler at you for a minute, give you game. Real scrappy, love the bottom Buddha thing. Trigger happy, and everybody in the game. You shot your family and didn't even know it, man. Same rules, same code, with a different slang. Struck him out, and now they took him out the picture frame. Mama, don't cry, we gon' get by. 2 weeks later, got killed in a drive-by. Why must we fight amongst each other? Reach one, each one, teach one, my brother. I teach them how to fight on the grass and in the class. Snoop Dogg, all stars, yes sir, they coming fast. D1, football, we won. Now proud of my son, Lil Snoop, yes sir, cause he won. Right on, SC, fight on. We 100, keep it coming, dip, slip, slide on, light on.
I fight like that. 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 I fight like that.
Watching the warriors, the story of the rebels. You from the ghetto, then you know never to settle. I'm shooting common on the streets, I'm a pharaoh. Battling in African-American apparel. Fists on a t-shirt, youngins doing street work. Grinding till they teeth hurt, that's because they need work. Working till the feet hurt, trying to get my soul right. Used to be on old bikes, serving them that cold white. Wars in the winters, the block is hot in summers. Today's mathematics, we know it's strength in numbers. To the bosses and the runners, the hustlers and the stunners. We fight for the hundreds, we fight for the oneness.
He fights with the heat. He fights with the sleet. He said, I am who I am. I can't be beat. Nobody has won a war against me.
I fight like that. 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 I fight.
All of the nations of the earth as we speak are angry. They're angry because governments cannot suffice the needs of their people. They're angry because a few have gotten wealthy at the expense of the many, and the poor and the sick and the weak and the unlearned multiply. And the value of their lives are diminished by the rich and the powerful, so that when human life is devalued, that in the eyes of man you are unworthy of the gift of life, then it is easy for another human being to take the life of another human being that he or she has devalued. Black life in America is devalued. Hispanic life is devalued. Even poor white life is devalued. There's a way that I have to behave. I'm free, but I'm not free to rob you of yours. I'm not free to take from you what does not belong to me. So if I will construct my life according to these righteous principles, then between man and man, man and woman, peace. Between race and race, peace. Between rich and poor, peace. We have our beautiful Mexican family. This once was theirs. So you can't say to them they are aliens. That's a horrible word to use for former owners. I see my indigenous family here. Many tribes, but they're really one great nation of people that now must be reunited with themselves. So it's their time now, as well as ours, that God would intervene in our affairs and bring the bottom rail to the top. The government is not rehabilitating soldiers. When they send you away to kill. When you come home, they gotta reconstitute you for civilian life again. Make sure you have a job so you can take care of your family, but they're not doing it. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad says, a woman can do anything that a man does, and the only thing he forbids the woman to do is the thing that degrades her. So how high can you go? High as you want to. Why would God allow the female to wear his attributes if you can't be a manifestation of that attribute? Women, you got to be set free. What God has put within you must be cultivated, must be developed, and must be used for the advancement of a nation and a world. I said to myself, Mr. President, why the hell don't you go to the wicked police department? Why the hell don't you stand up and tell them that your killing of black youth and brown youth is not gonna hold no more? Why don't you stand up? God's world is in need of a truth that will set up a government where everybody can live in peace, under real freedom, real justice, and real equality. This city has always fascinated me, the city of Frankfurt. Known to be a city of trade and economic growth. As a kid, I was amazed by handing over pieces of paper for ice cream, toys, and candy. Handing over such a paper and receiving a toy racetrack in return, I just could not believe it. Where could I get this magic paper? This idea I couldn't get out of my mind. I started asking questions and read every book I could find. I learned the money was backed by gold as a paper form to save us carrying it around. Something of real value behind the paper. But everything was changed. The value was capped and the gold standard, as it was called, was abolished. Since then, the value of money has been the biggest lie of all. The dollar bill is now just a paper subject to inflation and devaluation. This must stop. The solution, returning to a piece of gold that you can actually hold, and it holds value or even better cash gold, paper pressed and refined with real gold. A masterpiece solution, a forgery-proof, totally digital cryptocurrency. Here I am in the city of money, but not as a banker or a gold dealer. The Frankfurter Book Fair has invited me to read from my books that will help the world believe in gold again. Think Big will help show people how to be successful. I am very proud to be here.
We need to commit to the process.
To be focused, to be committed. That is something we don't see anymore.
If you've made a commitment, when you hit the rough spots, not if, when you hit the rough spots, your immediate thought is, how can I solve the problem? If you've not made the commitment when you hit the rough spot, whether it's in marriage or education or career or whatever, your first thought is, man, how can I get out of this deal?
Commitment is staying true to what you said you were going to do long after the mood that you have set it in has left. You see, people think commitment is saying, yes, I'll do it on the days when it feels good. But I have been committed to everything that I ever started in my life, and I never stopped and I never quit it. And so by being committed to everything that I started, I finished it. It built a certain type of spirit. It built a certain type of mentality. It built a certain type of individual. And so now I couldn't quit even if I wanted to. I couldn't lay in the bed even if I wanted to. I couldn't stop even if I wanted to. I had too much sweat equity in my life and everything that I was doing.
The road to success is through commitment and through the strength to drive through that commitment when it gets hard. And it is going to get hard and you're going to want to quit sometimes, but it'll be colored by who you are and more who you want to be.
You have to put your everything, your mind, your energy, your effort, your discipline, your tenacity. Nothing is going to jump out the fire. If you don't throw something in there, it's not going to happen.
I understood the process is more important than the product. It wasn't about the outcome for me. Whether I made it to the NFL or not, that was inconsequential in God's plan for my life. But I was going to fall in love with that process because I understood by falling in love with that process, it was going to turn me into a machine.
You know what I thought to myself? I thought I would hate to live and die and never know what would happen if I ever committed myself to anything. Some people have never thrown their whole self at nothing, not at school, not at work, not at marriage. Oh my God, you've had 1 foot in and 1 foot out of every dream all of your life, and you've never seen what you could be if you ever really connected and through everything. That's what's going to make your death so sad. That's what's going to make it so sad, is that you never lived first. You never fully engaged. You never fully studied. You never fully invested in anything or anybody. You want to get something that you are not willing to give. You have never been joined.
It will take the next 12 months for you to find the books. It'll take the next 12 months for you to attend the classes, to listen to the recordings repetitively until, like the songs on the radio, you've mastered the words by hearing the lyrics one more time. Best way to learn the song is not to go to Google, print off the words, and get up early and stay up late. It's not the best way. If there was a $1 million prize for mastering a little 3-minute song, the person who probably would win that prize is someone who would download it or acquire it and would listen to that song virtually 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, until they had to stand before the judges and recite every word. And it's the repetition, 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 repetition that's going to make it stick in your consciousness.
You see, a lot of people need things to get motivated. A lot of people need a little extra money to get motivated. A lot of people need, whatever the case may be, a little bonus to get motivated. I don't need anything but breath in my body and life.
But you've never been the person that you could be, because the could be is locked up behind commitment. And until you're committed, you'll never get the could be. And you're getting older. And you're running out of time and running out of excuses and running out of people to blame. Wonder what would have happened in school if you'd been committed. Wonder what would have happened in your marriage if you'd been committed. Wonder what would have happened in your church if you'd have really thrown your whole self. You've always been casual and never been committed. And some of the most casual people are talented people, because talented people will lay on their talent and use their talent as a camouflage to cover up their lack of commitment. And because you're talented enough to be able to float by on broken pieces, you will fool an indiscriminate eye into thinking that you are committed. You're not committed, you're just talented. You're just talented enough to get over. And you faked them out. You've been at 30 or 60-fold when you were created to be 100-fold person. I just think it would be terrible. I can't be committed to everything. I can't join everything. I can't be married to 1,000 women. I can't work 1,000 jobs, because I take my commitment too seriously to spread it around loosely.
You see, the thing we have to understand about everything that we're a part of, first and foremost, it's a blessing by God. And when it's a blessing, you can't help but to give everything you got to it. My life got saved. I got spared my life. Almost died. The doctor came to me on the field. He was on one knee and he grabbed my wrist and he said, "Son, you don't have a pulse. I don't even know how you're still living." And my last doctor visit, they came to me and they said, "Sorry, Inky Johnson, you will never be able to use this arm and hand again in your life." I said, "No disrespect to you, doc, but I will use this arm and this hand every day for the rest of my life by the way that I live my life. Every day I'm going to impact someone's life. Every day I'm going to empower someone. Every day I'm going to inspire someone. Every day I'm going to encourage someone."
It costs too much. I see a lot of people now I like, that interest me and intrigue me, and I would like to be friends, but I don't become friends with them because I understand that real friendship is an investment. and there's not any more of me to go around, so we will be nice and we'll be casual acquaintances, because I understand real friendship is a commitment. It means I will be there for you. It means I will return your calls. It means I've got your back. It means that I will emotionally, spiritually, financially do whatever I can to undergird you, and I can't do that with everybody. Slap somebody and tell them it's a commitment. It's a commitment. It's more to it than being nice. Stop laying on your talent. I know you're a nice person and people like you, but friendship is a commitment.
When you start looking at giving your best at all times, that's not easy. But when you are committing yourself to doing something, those are the standards that you set for yourself, because that's who you are. If you're working on a job where you're miserable, they're not paying you what you're worth. You don't like the work, you don't like the people, and you're dissatisfied. If you have decided to continue to take a paycheck, you owe it to yourself to give it your best effort. If you get in the habit of being mediocre or doing just enough to get by, you're not hurting anybody but you. You're cheating you.
Your whole life is a facade. The whole thing is a fake. The whole thing is a front. Your whole life is a camouflage suit. And now you're getting older, and you'll never get to see what you could have been, because the cost of getting to see it is a commitment that you've never been willing to pay.
The builder. There was a man who was an efficient builder. He had worked for years in a large company and had reached the age of retirement. His employer asked him to build one more house. It was to be his last commission. The builder took the job, but his heart was not involved. He used inferior materials. Timber was poor, and he failed to see the many things that should have been clear to him had he shown even his normal interest in his work. When the house was eventually finished, his employer came to him and said, "The house is yours. Here's the key. It's a present from me." The builder immediately regretted that he had not used the best materials and engaged the most capable workers. If only he had known that the house was for him.
Half studied, half worked, half labored, and then wonder why I thought I'd be further than I am at the age. Let me tell you why you are not further. It is not the devil, it is not witches, it is not demons, and it's sure God ain't haters. You are not any further than where you are right now, because you have never thrown your whole self at anything in your life. And you think greatness goes on sale.
Live each day with integrity. Don't try and get over in life. Don't try and cheat. Say, well, this little bit won't count. Everything counts.
But true quality never goes on sale. If you don't believe it, go in Fendi. Go in Fendi and ask them when it's the 50% off sale. Go in there to get you a Rolls Royce and start arguing and tell them, I want this down 20%. See if they'll negotiate. The only thing that goes on sale is cheap stuff. The real high quality stuff, it costs what it costs. They're not trying to get somebody average to buy it. You got to have a certain amount of money or you ought not to be in here. Greatness costs what it costs.
No. Thank you. That's kind of you. Commitment is the foundation of great accomplishments. Without commitment, Amelia Earhart wouldn't have become the first woman to fly solo across the Atlantic Ocean. Without commitment, we wouldn't be able to enjoy all of the Olympic athletes from all over the world coming together every 2 years, showing us both their physical and mental stamina at the highest level. And without commitment, a couple, the Fishers from James City, North Carolina, wouldn't have set the Guinness World Record for marriage. 86 years. Oh man, fabulous, incredible lifetime of family, a lifetime of love. And I think we all intuitively understand this, right? To achieve greatness in the areas that are important to us requires that we deeply invest ourselves and commit. And as we do that, it shapes a life for us. What we often overlook, though, are the ways in which all of our commitments, the grand ones, but also the smaller ones that we make, shape our lives. I'm going to start with a very small commitment that you make every day. If you're here, you made this commitment this morning. The simple commitment to just simply get out of bed. Can sometimes feel like a big commitment, right? You know, those mornings where you don't really feel like getting out of bed, but you know if you're going to accomplish anything that day, you've got to at least start with getting out of bed. You can't brush your teeth, take a shower, let alone get to work, deal with your kids, anything without that very first. So congratulate yourself on that commitment that you did today, right? So yeah, so we understand that there are commitments where, you know, I don't have to think that much about some of these commitments. I do them pretty automatically. But there are some commitments in our lives that really do require a lot of thought and reflection. And I'm thinking particularly about our lives at work and in love. I want to share with you a very surprising, really startling Gallup poll about how engaged people are with their jobs. According to this Gallup poll, only 13% of those surveyed classified themselves as being psychologically committed to their job, which means they go, they're excited to be there, they're putting everything they have into their work. On the other side, we have 24% who really just hate their jobs. They don't want to be there, and in fact, are actively working against the goals of the organization. I hope you don't work with one of these people. If you do, I'm sure you know that you do. So those are interesting statistics alone. But what I find particularly fascinating is actually the majority of folks. The 2/3 who say that they are just not engaged. So they're committed enough to go to work day in and day out. So they get there and they're going through the motions. And that's really what it is. That's really how they described it, is I'm just going through the motions. But that's the interesting thing, is that even if you are just committed enough to get there and go through the motions, because you spend so much time there, that's still shaping your life in many ways. Now, there can't be anybody who's just going through the motions in relationships, right? Nobody's just walking the walk, talking that, okay. Well, we know the divorce statistics. I don't need to reiterate those. But I think there's also a very interesting trend in terms of cohabitation. What a lot of people don't realize is that there are a lot of people cohabitating today, and they do so for some interesting reasons that I think shows us something about commitment. The most important thing, and first of all, I should say I don't have anything against cohabitation personally, but what the data says is that people who cohabitate before they marry are statistically significantly more likely to later divorce. And that's a very interesting finding that surprises a lot of people, and it surprised researchers too. And so they all sort of like, how do we figure out what this is? What's going on here? Why is this occurring? And the answer seems to lie, at least somewhat, in why people decide to move in together without marrying in the first place. When researchers ask, there's two big reasons that people share. One is, well, it was just kind of easy, you know? Like, my toothbrush was there, so why shouldn't I be? You know? Like, you know, my stuff was there anyway, or the rent was cheaper, or it just seemed like, you know, we just kind of did it, right? The second reason is that some people consider it a test, right? So maybe I'm not sure how committed I am long-term to this relationship, so we'll try it out. We'll see how it goes. The issue seems to be, though, is that even if couples don't pass the test and it turns out they're not super well matched for each other, they often end up married anyway. And the issue seems to be that what researchers call it is sliding versus deciding. Does that make sense? So sometimes we commit because we've really made a conscious decision to do so in marriage and otherwise. And sometimes we do it because we were investing more and more in something and we started cutting off other choices, and all of a sudden we found ourselves committed to something that maybe wasn't so right, and then we began to question it. So whether in relationships or in romantic or at work, and there's all kinds of areas of our lives that we can think about this, and how does commitment shape our lives, whether we're really thoughtful about it or whether we do it unconsciously. Ultimately, we do get to choose, right? All kinds of commitments shape our lives, the constructive ones and the destructive ones. The ones that, you know, we think about, the ones that we don't think about, the large and small, all of them shape our lives in a different way. But ultimately, the power is we get to make that choice if we decide to stop and look at our lives and say, hey, what am I committed to? What am I really deeply committed to? I'd like to tell you a little bit about how I got interested in this topic. I don't know if I was sliding or deciding, to be honest. I'm a university professor, and I got the opportunity to take a sabbatical. And in my sabbatical, I decided to write a proposal for a book about commitment. And I was really invested in writing the proposal. And I did it so well that I got an instant offer. Unfortunately, I'd put in the proposal that I would have the book ready for them in 9 months. And that included all the research that I hadn't yet read and all the interviews I hadn't yet conducted. And so I was at a choice point, like we often find ourselves at a choice point where I say, okay, am I going to commit to this? Am I going to sign this contract? And then I really got to get it done, right? Or am I going to keep doing, my life is nice. I'm a college professor. I've been married 8 years. I have a good life. I don't have to have this, but those are those moments where you have to really say, what do I really want? What do I really want to commit to? And when I did make that commitment, I found that several things happened. One, it shaped my life. For 9 months, it shaped my life. It was kind of like, being pregnant shapes your life. You got 9 months, you're going to do this thing, right? And every day was shaped. My husband's life was shaped. My coworker's life was shaped. My friend's life was shaped. It wasn't even just my life that was shaped by the commitment. But my life has been shaped since then, too. By making that commitment, I have an opportunity to be here and talking with you. The other thing I learned is that you really kind of have to have a plan to do commitment well, right? We like to think, I think that you just say, I'm going to be committed, and then you are. Like, how many people say that, right? Like, oh yeah, I'm committed, right? But commitment isn't just a word. It's really a process. How do you actually create commitment within yourself? How do you actually develop it? Sometimes that requires a plan. Part of that plan, I found, was needing to let go of other commitments. And that can be really challenging, to let go of other important commitments, to sort of prioritize your commitments. That's a tough thing, isn't it? I mean, to figure that out. And so, I let my husband go. No, I'm just kidding. Just joking. He was great. He really was my sanity. But I did, for example, and I gave up a lot of things during that time. But one thing was I'd been on a tennis team for 8 years, and I gave that up. So, and that was a process to let go of a commitment too. Do you ever find that? Like you said, you quit your job. You don't just say I quit. I mean, you'd like to, right? In one way, but in another way, it really is a process. And sometimes it requires like going through it, planning it out, figuring it out. So at this point, you're probably wondering, okay, well, what is commitment then? Is it the same thing as an obligation? Is it the same thing as a promise? Here's the definition that I use from social psychology. Commitment is the experience of being psychologically attached to something and intending to continue. That's what shapes our lives. Being psychologically attached, not an obligation, not like, yeah, sure, I'm committed, not even a promise. It's, are we really psychologically attached? And this is a matter of degrees. A lot of people also think of commitment as an on-off kind of thing. You're either committed or you're not. How many times have we heard that, right? But it is a matter of degrees. I can be very highly committed. I can have a low level of commitment, or I can have something in between, like those, 2/3 of the workers that are saying, I'm going, but I'm not really going, with my full self. And I would say that any of those levels of commitment shapes our life. So it's just a question of, thinking through, okay, what am I really committed to? How much? Is it enough? Because commitment can vary, the question is there a way that we can increase commitment within ourselves to the things that matter most and will shape our lives in positive ways? And then are there also ways that we can learn to let go of the commitments that are holding us back, or in some cases are really quite hurtful for us? And I think the answer is yes. And I come to this answer from a significant amount of research, really a lot of research over years and years by a lot of really smart people who have found that there are some factors that predict how committed we'll be. There are 4 factors in particular that, when we consider them together, have a highly predictive value in terms of how committed you'll be to your job, to your relationship, to your goals, to your health practices, to a sports team. Do you ever wonder, like, why am I more committed, not committed here? Why did the commitment level change? This explains it. And I think we can use this in a way that we can empower ourselves. If commitment's going to shape our lives, how could I have a role in that and not just let commitment happen to me? So I'm going to talk about the first two factors. Okay, so these are the 4 factors that predict commitment according to social science research. These are my terms. These terms have gone by, these words, there have been different words over the years, but these are the words I like to use. The first 2 words are treasures and troubles. And the reason I put these 2 together is we really have to consider these 2 together. It's kind of like a cost-benefit analysis. You kind of have, it's hard to just think about one without thinking about the other, right? So and you can do this right now. You can think about a commitment in your life. What do you treasure about it, right? What are the benefits? What do you value about it? What kind of meaning does it bring to you? Maybe joy, right? And then you sort of counterbalance that with, okay, how troubling is it? What are the problems? What are the difficulties? What are the things I have to kind of put up with? And troubles vary a lot too, right? So some troubles are like, it's a little difficult, but it's worth it because I'm going for the gold medal, right? Other troubles are really significant, and you stop and you say, I don't know if I want to continue this. Because satisfaction is a major predictor of commitment. It isn't the only thing. It's not just like if you're satisfied, you stay. If you're not satisfied, you go. Thankfully, it's not quite that simple. But satisfaction is a huge predictor of commitment. So I want to tell you about a friend of mine, Melinda Keckler O'Malley, or actually Melinda O'Malley Keckler. She was the news anchor for Channel 2 News in my city for many years. And she loved the job. It was her dream job. Absolutely fabulous. Loved it, loved it, loved it. Treasures up the wazoo, right? And then she had a baby. And it was like, oh, this is so much work. I want to be with my baby. This is a little troubling, yada, yada. Continues on, another baby, first child goes to school. Now she realizes, okay, I have the news anchor shift, 3 p.m. to 11 p.m. My kid's at school during the day. I'm never seeing my child. This is now the troubles are really outweighing the treasures at this point, right? So the next thing is contributions. So I take a look at my satisfaction, my treasures and troubles, but then I also take a look at, well, how much have I contributed? We do this consciously, but we also do this unconsciously. Piles of research from so many fields. I mean, just piles and piles. I could just show you the piles, right? Say the more you invest in something, your time, your energy, your talent, your creativity, your love, your heart, even sharing who you are. As you go through that process, you become more and more committed, for good or for bad, right? So this is exactly what happened to Melinda. So she had gone to school for this job. She'd taken all the internships. She did the horrible 4 a.m. shifts to finally earn her way to get to this job. How could she just let it go? But she was really troubled. And she sat down with her husband finally, and he'd seen her for years. Okay, so if you're in this position, understand you're not alone. For years, she was caught in that space of, do I stay with this or not? And he's finally said to her, you know what? Why don't we just let it go? And she said that in that moment, it was like a whole new world opened up to her. You mean I can just let this go? I don't have to let my sunk costs influence the rest of my life? The last factor, and we put these all together, and I'll show you that in a second. So treasures and troubles, contributions. Now, choices are something that can take away from our commitment. We usually think of choices as a good thing, and often they are, right? But if you want commitment, choices are actually a bad thing for you, right? Because if you see a lot of other really attractive options, I always sort of picture the guy, because we all have a friend who's like this guy, right? And he thinks he can have any woman, right? He's like thinking, he's like Giselle is going to be, in his dating, unless you're Tom Brady guy, this is not going to happen for you. And yet, as he really believes that he has all these great choices, he's less committed to any woman he's actually dating. Does that make sense? Yeah? So with Melinda, she didn't think that she had other choices. She was like, I was specifically trained for this job. There's nothing else I can do. But when she decided to open her eyes and consider some things, she realized that the skills that she'd learned as a professional journalist were actually skills that could be applied to a lot of jobs. And she ended up in the PR field. She's currently she does a great job in communications and marketing at my university, and she's totally committed. I asked her, I said, what do you think, because she's, used to being on camera and all that. And I said, what do you think I should wear? And she said, blue and orange, because I'm at Boise State. So blue and orange, she's just so dedicated to her job now, and she gets to be totally dedicated to her family at the same time. She figured out a way, knowing that commitment would shape her life. How did she want to shape her commitments? Here's the whole equation put together. I call it the commitment equation. Didn't make this up myself other than the words. This is all in the literature for anyone to take a look at. Commitment, the level of our commitment is dictated by, to a large extent, How much we treasure something minus how troubling it is, plus what we've contributed minus the other good choices that we see. We know that commitment is going to shape our lives in significant ways. So why don't we shape our commitment in significant ways and create a life we truly value?
Hi guys, Dan Girolamo, Big Boomer, Boomer Math Class one more time. See that? That's $1. Everybody knows that. It's the world's reserve currency. People have to exchange into dollars in many different countries in order to exchange to buy goods and services like oil. All right, now, let me give you a little hint. Since the time these came out and they've been printing money, this is all that's left of the buying power out of that whole bill. Is that little red stripe right there. That's right. This was worth a significant amount and bought more. This was worth 1.5 grams of gold when it first came out. But you never taught that because in 2 generations, everyone forgets. And they didn't teach you that in school, did they? Now, let me give you a little hint. Many of you have heard about this company called Carrot Bars. You need to understand some significance about what's happening right now, okay? All the paper money in the world is going through a change. Here's some examples of some paper money right here. This is fiat paper money, which means let it be. We will let it be what we want it to be. And we will accept that let it be fiat money, which they call it, for goods and services, etc., to exchange. We'll even accept it for payment of tax, even though it's paper. You burn it, turns to ash. No intrinsic value. By the way, you burn gold, takes 1945 degrees, and you still have a pile of gold. All right? It's a very unique element, always equal to the task and labor it takes to extract it, which why it is a perfect means to create a real money instrument worldwide. Now, let me explain the simplicity of Carrot Bars. This is what you know. You go to work and you make paper money. It doesn't matter whether you got a shovel or a stethoscope in your hand. You go produce work. You never get paid for what you know. You only get paid for what you do with what you know. So it doesn't matter how many college degrees you have or how many different trades you know. If you can't do the task, you don't make the money. Follow me? And this is what has happened. In 1951, let's go back a little bit. 2 generations, everyone forgets. 1951, how many people in a family had to go work a tool to meet the needs of the economy called a job? One. And what were the 3 things the job was supposed to do? Number 1, it was supposed to pay the taxes the government said you had to pay. Number 2, it was supposed to give you enough money to live on. And number 3, it was supposed to give you enough money that you didn't have to live on, so you could take the leftover money and you could put it into some type of investment or something that could use the power of compounding so that it could create a residual income so that when you couldn't work anymore, you had something to live on. How's that working for you these days? Back in those times, savings used to mean creating generational wealth. Now, savings means by the media spending at a discount. Think about it. The TV has programmed you the way it wants to program you. Someday you'll understand that comment. Now, this is very important. You go to work, you make paper money. It doesn't matter what you do for a living. Then what you do is you go put it in a paper money bank, and they give you this paper money debit card, and you go spend it at the store. That's what you know. That's what your neighbor knows. That's what everybody knows. Now, this is the problem with that. As the government prints more money, the value of the money that they print makes the value of the money that you have even worth less. Follow me? So let's take that into perspective. The real rate of inflation is 11%, which includes gas, food, and energy costs, but they don't include that in the inflationary rate that they tell you. Why? Well, no administration is going to do that. They leave that out because if they really told you it was 11%, they would have to index Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, unemployment, government jobs. Every other cost of living adjustment would be indexed. Nobody's going to do that. I don't care what party it is. This is just common sense stuff that they don't teach in school. So if you open up a paper money account, do they charge you fees? Yeah. And so every dollar that they got, how much do they pay you? 1.5% on your account? So for every dollar you got, getting 1.5%, and the real inflationary rate's 11%, you're losing 9.5% on your paper money in your paper money bank. Now, I might be a knucklehead, but that doesn't seem like good math to me. Follow me? And on top of that, every time the bank loans out $1, loans out $1, you give them $1 in your account. They can loan out 9 more. So think about that every time you give the bank $1. Now, here's the universal solution to the worldwide debt, currency, and savings crisis. You open up a Karatbars account. This is gold money. See this? This is paper money. This is gold money. That's real gold in the middle of that, surrounded by a counterfeit-proof certificate, which is transaction friendly. It's a very unique asset class. Very unique. And we have a niche market worldwide. So picture this. You know this, you open up an account. How much does it cost to open up? Nothing. Is there any maintenance fees? No. Do you have maintenance fees in this? Yes. And the solution to the worldwide debt, currency, and savings crisis is this. For every $4 you have that you put in your paper money bank account, take $1 and put it in your gold money account. If you still have the money in your hands, it's just in a different form. So as governments, politicians, and bankers print more money and make bad decisions to bail out people that shouldn't be bailed out, whether you like it or not, the value of the paper money goes down. That's why you see jobs moving overseas. That's why it takes more than one person in a family to do what it used to do in 1951. Today it takes 2.8 jobs what one used to do. Okay? That's why you see so slow. That's why you see cars cost more money. That's the reason you see rent costs more. It's because the value of this is diluted and goes down. So the simple solution is open a Karatbars account, take $1 every $4 and put it in your gold money account. As the value of the paper money goes down from their decisions, bad decisions, the value of your gold account does what? Goes up. It balances out your losses. This is not speculation about how to make money buying and selling gold. That's not what Karatbars is. This is cover your assets, buddy. That's what this thing is. In any case, I like to have fun. That's the simple solution. In that way, you can do it. You don't have to wait for anybody else to do it. You can do it all on your own. Karatbars is the best solution you're going to find in these times. Bless. Bye-bye.
Ready for Revolution. Morning, 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 and welcome to another edition of Classes in Session. It's going to be a quick, what do you call it? A quick unpack, because I think what we shared today was enough for all. So welcome, welcome, welcome to this wonderful opportunity of sharing a magnificent work. Let's go into what we heard. Of course, I have some notes here. Commitment is a powerful, powerful tool. I'll be back with a live stream later today on this channel, probably somewhere in the 3 to 4 o'clock area. So we can look for it then. And we're going to have a very unique presentation at 12 noon on www.goldrocks.info. I want to thank everybody that presented. I want to thank all of you for being here. Commitment is throwing your whole self at a thing. Commitment is throwing your whole self at a thing. You know, we have several things that we try. There's several things we aspire to do, and they all require a measure of commitment. So with that measure of commitment, how dedicated are we to making it happen? Those are things that come about as an analysis, as you put a period behind your goal, as you put a period behind your dream or your project. You know, how, what was the value? You know, what did you get out of it? How far did you get? Where were the results? All those things are based upon your ability to commit to that thing. You commit to a marriage, you commit to a job, you commit to an idea. how much of yourself do you throw into it? Very important. You know, I love the analysis that Les Brown gave in the close of the motivation clip. He talked about the celebrated builder. That celebrated builder, he's now getting ready to retire. He's packing it all in. He's done tremendous work. His employer loved him for it. They loved the quality of work. They loved the success behind the work. They loved the energy he brought to it. And then what did he do? They said, well, if you just give us one more house. And he decided to half step. He decided to half step. He didn't use the right materials. He used inferior materials and products. He went on and forgave and forgot standards that are required to bring the house up to the level of quality that everyone enjoyed about his work, about his craft. You know, he used staff that were inadequate. So therefore, the house structure may look cosmetically, it probably looked great. But what happened when you closed the door? What happened when you pulled into the driveway? What happened to the foundation of it? You know, all those things played into the type of home he built. He built it without care. He built it without any level of commitment. He wasn't involved in it at all. He didn't throw himself into it as he did all the previous work. And here in his last house, it turned out that the house was actually that he was building was actually a gift for himself. And that's what he ended up with. So why am I saying that? Because in Carabal's International, this is what we have. We have a gift. We could not choose this by ourselves. This was chosen for us. As a result of it being chosen for us, how do we construct the house? We've been given the quality product. No one else has it. We've been given a quality business model. No one else uses it. We've been given a roadmap by which our leaders have been made wealthy. We only embrace part of it. When will we decide to throw ourselves into the opportunity? I enjoy a measure of the success. Well, measure is a degree. That means if there's 360 degrees that make a complete circle, then I only have certain degrees of it that I'm accomplishing, but there's several hundred more. There's a few hundred more degrees that I can be taking advantage of to make my input, my commitment complete. So you can't have the map and do one of the three things, two of the three things. You have to give it all. You have to give it your all. That's the commitment. And the commitment will yield you the success and does not allow you to focus on what's not happening because we have yet to, because we don't have time. If we focus on what should happen, then everything else will happen. That's commitment. I want to use the psychologist's definition of commitment. I thought that was really profound. The experience of being psychologically attached to something and intending to continue. The experience of being psychologically attached to something and intending to continue. How attached are you to your dream? How attached are you to your goals? How attached are you to your ambitions in life? And what will you do? How will you qualify it? How do you qualify saying, I believe? How do you qualify by saying, I dream, I am, I will? It doesn't become qualified until we put in the work. Mr. Best had a discussion with me one day, and he talked to me about putting skin in the game. Woo. Put skin in the game. Qualify yourself to be recognized by others so they can see that the opportunity is real. Put skin in the game. Confidence is a muscle. Commitment is a muscle. All right? These things are muscles. What do you do with your muscles? You break them down to build them up. So let's be a part of that commitment. All right, housekeeping notes, and then we're out. We're going to do a part 2 of this tomorrow. And that part 2 is going to be more of a dialogue and more of exchange with each of you. I'm going to be looking for your comments. I'm going to be looking to see what kind of feedback we get that we engage each other in, because this commitment piece is a choice, but you got to know what to let go of in order to get to it. All right, that's a whole nother discussion. I'll have a live stream later on today. Thank you, Big Dan. May God be pleased with you, your life, and your legacy, and what you've done for so many others. You know, I feel like I've known him and never was blessed to meet him. I've met him through all of these. So keeping commitments, family, it is an absolute choice. Pay yourself first. Those are the rules. All right. Classes in session every morning, Monday through Saturday. We're here at 8 a.m. Share with everyone else. You know, let's get it in. Let's get it in. And it'll be proven valuable. Thank you all for your commitments. Now, some of you, I'm just catching up to your comments. There were some people who didn't get into the stream. There were some people who are looking for the replay. That replay can be found on www.runtowealth.info. That's the number 2. So the same place by which you secured your admission, that is the same link that you will use to come back to the presentation. It's a full page of all kind of tips and tricks that I have there. Excuse the term tricks. And as a matter of fact, there's a VIP list on that page. Join the VIP list. Please join that list. There's some things that I'm going to be sharing with you from that platform that will help advance us as a business and as a future. Okay. So you'll find that information there. 10:45 a.m. today. This is Turn Up Tuesday. Miss Maxine Jones is in the house at www.goldrocks.info. It is the Turn Up Tuesday power call with Miss Maxine Jones, and immediately after her, your brother will be there. I'll be on doing the 12 noon presentation. It's the wealth building presentation at 12 noon. Mr. Al Murray's there at 9 p.m. this evening. You all want to be in the place. You know, we're going to bring it. We're going to bring it. We're going to bring the noise. Okay. All right. And then, of course, please, by all means, let's make a study of what we saw today, what we heard today, and let's continue to work on changing our lives and the future lives that are part of our lineage. Let's do this now so we can understand forever and what forever should be and will be for many, many people. I'm going to go and hang out with Sister Lakeisha McKnight. She's been fire these last few weeks and days, and I'm learning more about her writings, and I'm ordering her book, and all kind of things happening. So let's get over there. I'm going to see Sister Lakeisha McKnight. Then I'm going to Brother Kansu Hotep Atun and Team Fard. If you have a presentation today, I'm going to peek in on that also. Peace and power, family. Hey, live your best life. It's here for you. It's absolutely here for you. It's your time. It's your hour. Peace and power. Part 2 tomorrow. Let's be on time.
Peace. Strong words. Love. Soul. And change. Yeah. This is Big Snoop Dogg. Coming at you live and direct. And I got something to say. You dig?
Let's change the world. Divided we fall, but united we stand. Let's change the world. No fights, no wars. Oh, let's learn to love again. Let's change the world. Let's change the world. Let's change the world. Whoa, oh, oh. Let's change the world. Let's change the world. Let's change the world. Let's make hope for the future.
Brother, what will you discover if we come together and do it like we never? I'm just sick and tired. I'm fit to light the fire. Now put this on the wire. The devil is a liar. I do this with no hesitation. Meet me at the reservation. Elevating, educating, meditating, concentrating. Replenish ya, finish ya, opposite of sinister. And I do it for the minister.
Let's change the world. Divided we fall, but united we stand. Let's change the world. No fights, no wars. Oh, let's learn to love again. Let's change the world. Let's change the world. make hope for the future.
Somebody need to stop the war. Man, the war ain't overseas, it's at your front door. And I done seen too many brothers shot up on the floor for more than drugs and some colors. And now you call us warlords. But if you can help it, then help it. But you ain't helping us. You so selfish and selfless, you wanna see us breathless and helpless. But I'ma hustle to tussle for all my brothers who struggle. Yeah, we bang the world. Now let's change the world.
Let's change the world. Divided we fall, united we stand. Let's change the world. No fights, no wars. Oh, let's learn to love again. Let's change the world. Let's change the world. Let's change the world. Whoa, oh, oh. Let's change the world. Let's change the world. Let's change the world. Let's make hope for the future.
No killing, no shooting, no dying, no lying, no gang banging, so no more mamas crying. Everybody get along, man, that be the perfect song. Peace in the streets as I sit back on my phone, chilling with the president. He let me in the White House, back to the castle with the minister, no doubt. Shoes at the front door, love is what you come for. Let's get it right and unite, but do it right.
Let's change the world. Divided we fall, but united we stand. Let's change the world. No fights, no wars. Oh, let's learn to love again. Let's change the world. Let's change the world. Let's change the world. Whoa, oh, oh. Let's change the world. Let's change the world. Let's change the world. Let's make hope for the future.